I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
Introduced by his wife at the Republican National Convention, this was his first speech in his capacity as Donald Trump's pick for Vice President.
My name is J.D. Vance from the great state of Ohio.
Why don't we love these United States?
At just 39 years old, J.D. Vance is a relative newcomer to politics. He spent less than 2 years as a senator for his home state of Ohio. The tone of his speech was one of rejuvenation, an opportunity to reverse the perceived decline caused by a Washington elite out of touch with the working men and women of America.
Tonight is a night of hope, a celebration of what America once was, and with God's grace, what it will soon be again.
Mr. Vance acknowledged that on many issues ranging from national security to economic policy, there are many differing views within the party. He said that was a positive.
Shouldn't we be governed by a party that is unafraid to debate ideas and come to the best solution?
He said that would be the party of the next 4 years.
United in our love for this country and committed to free speech and the open exchange of ideas.
Author of best-selling memoir Hillbilly Elegy, now a movie on Netflix, J.D. Vance detailed how he grew up in a patriotic small town in Ohio, a place that, as he put it, had been cast aside and forgotten by America's ruling class in Washington.
When I was in the 4th grade, a career politician by the name of Joe Biden supported NAFTA, a bad trade deal that sent countless good jobs to Mexico. When I was a sophomore in high school, that same career politician named Joe Biden gave China a sweetheart trade deal that destroyed even more good American middle-class manufacturing jobs. When I was a senior in high school, that same Joe Biden supported the disastrous invasion of Iraq, and at each step of the way, in small towns like mine in Ohio or next door in Pennsylvania or Michigan, in states all across our country, jobs were sent overseas and our children were sent to war.
Set to cries of "Joe must go," Mr. Vance pushed back against establishment and globalist interests, blaming Mr. Biden and Washington for a declining American heartland.
For decades, that divide between the few with their power and comfort in Washington and the rest of us only widened. From Iraq to Afghanistan, from the financial crisis to the Great Recession, from open borders to stagnating wages, the people who govern this country have failed and failed again.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Usha Vance.
In contrast to his MAGA rhetoric, his wife Usha offered up a very different side to her husband, whom she met in law school thanks to the support of the GI Bill.
A working-class guy who had overcome childhood traumas that I could barely fathom to end up at Yale Law School. A tough Marine who had served in Iraq, but whose idea of a good time was playing with puppies and watching the movie Babe.
Ms. Vance said her husband was the most determined person she'd ever met, with one overriding ambition:
to become a husband and a father, and to build the kind of tight-knit family that he had longed for as a child.
Mr. Vance's wife, Usha, grew up in San Diego, in a middle-class community with a loving mum and dad, both immigrants from India.
That JD and I could meet at all, let alone fall in love and marry, is a testament to this great country.
Going forward, Mr. Vance assured a clearly receptive audience that the future would be different, going on to list the Trump-Vance movement's priorities.
We're done, ladies and gentlemen, catering to Wall Street. We'll commit to the working man. We're done importing foreign labor. We're going to fight for American citizens and their good jobs and their good wages. We're done buying energy from countries that hate us. We're going to get it right here from American workers in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, and across the country. We're done sacrificing supply chains to unlimited global trade, and we're going to stamp more and more products with that beautiful label, Made in the USA. We're going to build factories again, put people to work making real products for American families made with the hands of American workers. We will protect the wages of American workers and stop the Chinese Communist Party from building their middle class on the backs of American citizens.
Disconcertingly, much like Mr. Trump's own speeches, there was nothing on foreign policy. At a time when America's adversaries, including Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, are all on the move.
Together, we will make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace. No more free rides for nations that betray the generosity of the American taxpayer.
Just a couple of fleeting remarks that reinforced accusations of Republican isolationism.
Together, we will send our kids to war only when we must. But as President Trump showed with the elimination of ISIS and so much more, when we punch, we're going to punch hard.
In an article for the Journal titled J.D. Vance and the Rise of Post-Liberalism, Dr. Graydon Zorzi writes, "Many observers anticipate that Mr. Vance will become the standard-bearer for the Trump movement after the next presidential term. He is viewed not only as a politician, but as an intellectual, capable of articulating a governing philosophy."
He is our once and future President of the United States of America.
In closing remarks to his 35-minute speech, Mr. Vance made a promise.
To the people of Middletown, Ohio, and all the forgotten communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and every corner of our nation, I promise you this: I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from.